This is how Israeli forces released the two boys after interrogating them for hours. Foil blankets wrapped around their bodies after being stripped to their underwear, passers-by offering them the clothes off their backs. Ibrahim Abu Ghali is 7 years old. His cousin Omar is 13.
سلحونا في الشارع وسكعنا صر بردانين كنا.
They were detained for 12 hours. Their families say the trauma may take years to heal.
ستة طلعت تفقد الأذان طخوها. كان في هناك قناص لا هناك قاعد اسماعيل وهنا قناص وهنا قناص وهناك قناص.
After the shooting, the Israeli soldiers arrested all the males in the house. They were put in an armored vehicle and moved to an Israeli military base.
كل ما يحكي واحد بخبطوه على ظهره في البوت. كل ما يحكوا بخبطه. نمت أنا كل ما يخبط رجله في الباب بصحى بلتمس. ضربني على ظهري ولسه معلمة. توجعني كثير.
The family says Ibrahim and Omar are scared, shaken and in shock. Omar's mother says he's become withdrawn and still has trouble talking about what happened.
بعديها روحونا طلع بس هم مروحين وبلشوا يضربوا فينا يعني واحنا فايتين جوا السيارة. ضربونا ضرب بضلهم يضربوني وهو إبراهيم.
Instead of returning home to safety, the two boys came back to their besieged refugee camp to find their grandmother's funeral taking place. The boys weren't told she succumbed to her wounds shortly after she was shot. There are at least 350 Palestinian minors in Israeli jails. Israeli military courts prosecute between 500 and 700 Palestinian children each year. Since the beginning of this year, 17 minors were killed by Israeli forces in the occupied West Bank. Palestinian children often describe abuse, intimidation and malnutrition inside Israeli jails. They say the mistreatment dramatically increased since the war in Gaza. The chance to recover for Ibrahim and Omar may never come when the trauma caused by Israel is continuous, widespread and generational. Barbara Angopa, Al Jazeera.
Ayed Abu Ektash is the Accountability Program Director for Defence for Children International Palestine. He's joining us live from Ramallah. Thank you very much for your time. Before we talk about the wider situation for Palestinian children in Israeli jails, can we firstly ask you for your reaction to the treatment of these particular two young boys?
Thank you for having me. I think that this is not the first incident where the Israeli army detain Palestinian children or arrest Palestinian children below the age of criminal responsibility. During the past years, we come across many cases where the Israeli troops arrested children below the age of 9. For 8 or 9 years old child, it's a terrifying experience, even arresting them for just a few hours. And the children mentioned that they exposed to intimidation, to physical violence, just being in the hands of the soldiers along of other detainees who are exposing to ill treatment and torture and physical violence. I believe that it's a terrifying experience that children will not forget all over their life. So I think that it's not an isolated case. In many cases, the Israeli army arrests children below the age of 12, which is the minimum age of criminal responsibility according to the Israeli military legal system itself.
And of course, we know that Israeli children aren't subject to the same laws that Palestinian children are. The report mentioned that some of the conditions that Palestinian children in Israeli jails are facing. We've also noted that Israeli authorities have severely restricted visits by family members and lawyers to Palestinian children in Israeli jails. Can you tell us about that and how, when you were earlier speaking about how it's a very terrifying experience for children, Israel is also not allowing the Palestinian children to have a family member or lawyer present when they're being interrogated?
Despite the fact that the situation of Palestinian children in Israeli military legal system was harsh before the 7th of October 2023, but according to the documentation and the information collected by DCI Palestine, we believe that this situation now is unimaginable. Before October 2023, ill treatment and torture was widespread, systematic, and institutionalized. Every Palestinian child who is arrested by the Israeli military and interrogated and appear before the Israeli military legal system exposed to different types of ill treatment and torture. And the main purpose of this treatment is to extract confessions from those children that is used by the Israeli military court as the primary evidence against them. After October 2023, this situation become harsher many times comparing with before. Now Palestinian children are totally isolated from the outside world. Since that time until now, they do not receive any family visits. Lawyer visits are very restricted. They don't know about what's going outside because there is no radios or televisions or newspapers, so they are totally disconnected from the outside world. The living conditions inside Israeli prisons are very harsh in terms of the treatment of the Israeli jailers or the in terms of the food provided for Palestinian children in Israeli jails. Many children mentioned that they are starving because the food is very limited in terms of quality and the quantity. Before, Palestinian prisoners, among them children, used to depend on the money deposited from their families in order to compensate the shortage of what the Israeli prisons provide them with. Now the families are not allowed to deposit money for prisoners, among them children. So now they are starving. During the past period, there was spread of scabies, and the prison authority do not provide the necessary medication for Palestinian children. So we witnessed many children after being released, their bodies are full of cuts and as a result of the spread of scabies.
So yeah, they're living with the physical and psychological impact of their incarceration for a long time, many of them after being released out there. Ayed Abu Iktaish, thank you so much for your insights on this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.